Hey, this is Bryan. Thanks so much for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. Today, we're going to show you the cheapest and easiest way to Walnut Blast your F30 N55 from home. Now, the big question is, why do I need to do this? Well, let's get started and we'll talk about it along the way. The first part of the process is to pull the negative terminal off of your battery. So grab your 10 millimeter, loosen that nut, pull it off and stick it to the side. And as always, whenever you pull the battery, you want to make sure that you take a microfiber towel, put it just like that so your trunk cannot close and you don't get locked out. The next part of the process, as you see we have already done, is to remove your intake. Now I had an MST intake, so whatever kind of intake you have, remove it. And then you want to remove your motor cover just by pulling up, just like that. Then with your 10 millimeter, you just turn it a quarter turn counterclockwise, loosen those, and this piece will come off and do the same thing to the other side. Then what you can do, I'm just gonna pull this out of the way, just like that. Then what you need to do is you need to grab a pick tool. We're going to remove these two braces right here. So just take a pick tool and remove these two covers right there, and then you're going to see the E18 bolts. Then what you want to do is you want to grab your E18, and if you're not familiar with the E's, it's a reverse Torx or an external Torx. Now what we can do is we can remove the 4 E18 bolts. So there's one here, one there, and then one down there. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then what we can do, just take those braces and move them out of the way. Then what we need to do is grab a 10 millimeter and remove all of these 10 millimeter bolts that surround this piece right here. Then with a trim tool, pop up the center piece of the plastic rivet here, pull that out, pull the rivet out, and we're gonna get this entire piece and set it to the side. Then what we're going to do is we are going to disconnect our O2 sensors, just like that, and you press down on this little tab and you pull them apart. There's 1, and there's 2. Take these wires and just set them over here for a minute. Then what we're going to do is we're going to remove this connection right here. The way that these work, there's this little metal spring. You just press on it and pull it forward just like that. Then release it from this clip over here and set it aside with your O2 sensors. Then what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the connection over here and the one over here. Okay, we're just gonna pull these over and set them out of the way. Then what you can do is remove the C-clamp from your charge pipe and slide your charge pipe off. Okay. Now I have an Evolution Racewerks charge pipe on here, so what I'm going to do is I am just going to take the top of it off. So I'm going to remove that connection. And then there's these 2 other connections for the vacuum line. I'm just going to take this entire vacuum line off. If you're not familiar with how these work, basically you press on either side and then this will lift up. They're kind of a pain, but just work at it and you'll be okay. So there's clips on the sides here. You press on the ridges, it spreads the clips, and then this comes off. Sometimes, especially on this one down here, it's just a little bit awkward, but keep at it and you'll do great. So like I said, I have an Evolution Racewerks charge pipe on here. I'm just gonna take the top part off to get it out of my way. All right, so now let's talk about why this is important. So as you may know, the N55 uses direct injection, so it's directly injecting the fuel right into the motor, which is not cleaning your intake valves. So how can your valves get dirty? Well, because of the crankcase ventilation system, I don't know if you can see this, but there's all this nasty oil in my charge pipe. Oh, there's a nice gloop right there. That's disgusting. But basically this oil has nowhere to go. So it's coating your intake valves, and because there's no fuel to wash it off, you build up carbon, which is going to rob your car of horsepower. It's gonna make it idle terrible, and it's also gonna hurt your MPGs. Now what you can do is grab a T25. There are 2 T25 screws hiding back here. Carefully remove them. There's one. And here's two. Next, what we're gonna do, there's this little tab under here. You press that down, and then this piece will come off. Just like that. You can take these wire harnesses, push them down. There's a little grommet that holds this side in. Very carefully flip it up, just like that. And then what we need to do is we need to remove this. So the way this works is there's a little tab. You press on the end, and then that'll separate it. And this little thing is kind of annoying, but you just get it and slide it off there, just like that. Then we're going to disconnect this connection. So I just like to lift up on that little tab right there if it gets stuck. Sometimes you can press on the back, sometimes it doesn't work, it just needs a little extra help. And we're gonna move down here. There's this rubber grommet. We're just gonna pull that off, just like that. And then what you can do is just continue to unhook the wire looms. Okay, just like that. Getting everything out of the way. And we need to remove this connection. It's that same squeeze style. Now for me, it's really hard to get my finger in here, so I just use a flathead screwdriver. And again, you're just gonna squeeze the sides and pop that up. Now what we need to do is we need to remove these connections from the DME. Now, as you'd suspect, you need to get this one off before you can get this one, before you can get this one. So the way this works, press down on this little lever, then you're gonna press on this tab right there, just like that, and that'll come off. Then you can do that one. You do the same thing with this. You press down the little tab, move over the little lever, press that over. Be very careful with these. Number two, move all these out of the way. Press down the tab, move the lever, and number three will pop out. And here's a closer look at those connections. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get clip number 4. So this one is completely different than all of the others. There's this little, I'll show you once I pull it out. There's this little clip right here. You slide this down and then it pops up. I don't know why they used a couple different versions. Then on these, it doesn't really matter what order, you just press on either side. And pull them out, so there's one. This one's easier. And then there's two. Now something that I didn't mention, but it is very important, is you always want to get something like a microfiber towel and put it where your charge pipe is to make sure that there's nothing that's going to fall in. Do the same with your intake inlet. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take an 11mm and we're going to remove all of these nuts and bolts that hold the intake manifold on. All right, and last one. There's only 7, so there's 5 nuts and there's 2 bolts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our intake manifold. We're just going to very carefully pull it off. Just lift it up just like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, so same thing. Press on the ridges, carefully slide it off. At this point, you're a pro. Then with this connection, you lift up on the end, and then that'll slide off just like that. So there's a little tab right there. You lift that up and pull it off. If you can't do it with your hand, try it with a flathead screwdriver. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and just very carefully press it through and remove your intake manifold and your DME. Now what you wanna do is you wanna take tape and you wanna tape up all the ports. You never want anything to fall in there, because if something falls in there, it's a good chance that your motor will be toast. So always be extra careful. So now what we're going to do is we are going to use my little scope here from Foxwell. So as you can see, it can get in tight spots. It's super long, it's 1080, and it also has a little controllable light in. So let's stick the scope in and we'll check out how bad the valves are. All right, so let me remove the tape. And we'll just take a little gander in here. All right, so as we can see, it's pretty gunked up back here. Just seems like there is a lot of oil, carbon, and well, just nasty. But I think the walnut blasting is really gonna help. Now, in order to start walnut blasting, we need to make sure that the valves are 100% shut. You do not want walnut shells in your cylinder. So what we're going to do, as you can see down here, is you need a 22mm socket with a wrench on the end. And what we're going to do is we are going to turn the motor by hand to make sure that the valves are completely closed. Now for the N55, the firing sequence is 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, and then 4. So basically what that means is we are going to set number 1 up. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do number 5, and we're just gonna need to hand crank it just a little bit, and then you're gonna follow the order like that. Okay, so at this time, we're gonna remove the tape from cylinder 1, and then we're gonna slowly hand crank it until the valves are completely closed. All right, so after all of that, it is finally time to start blasting. So today, we are going to be using Eastwood's Blast in a Bucket solution, which is by far the cheapest way that you can do this and still be very effective. And then FCP Euro was kind enough to send us the attachment for our vacuum and also this little wand. So the wand is going to connect to Eastwood's gun. That's what's going to shoot the walnut shells into the motor. And then as we're doing that, we're going to suck them out with this special N55 adapter for my vacuum. Now with Eastwood's spray gun, it is not really meant to go with this, so we're gonna make it. Sometimes what you can do, if you needed to like clean rust off a part or whatnot, is literally you just drop one of these guys in here and then you can spray it. But we wanna have a very controlled spray. So what I did is I went to the auto parts store and I got 3 washers. And I figured out that if I put these 3 washers on just like that, I can line this up and we can make our own attachment to make everything work well together. Then what we need to do is get our vacuum attachment, really just get a shop vac. And as you can see, it's designed for many different shop vacs, so it should fit yours. And then we're just gonna press it in just like that. We're ready to blast. All right, let's get our walnuts. And we got a brand new 5-gallon bucket. We're gonna pour this in here without spilling it. That's the goal, at least. All right, so now what we can do, we can remove our piece of tape. You're gonna get, we'll call it the feeder, and stick it in our bucket. The name of the game is just try to keep everything as loose as possible. I have my air pressure right now set to about 80 PSI. They say when walnut blasting, you want to be between 60 and 90. Now, once you have your spray gun set up, it's a really good idea to test it. We actually had to make a change. So as you know, this and this were not designed to work together. What I had to do is I had to put 1 on one end and I ended up putting 2 on another. And what that does is it creates a little space between this tip here and the sprayer nozzle, and it allows more space for the walnut to travel through. So once you have everything good to go, set up and tested, we're gonna hook this end up to the motor like it is right now. We're gonna turn on the vacuum. It's gonna get loud, so we're probably gonna mute this. Then you're gonna put this through this little hole and just very carefully twist the spray gun, and you wanna make sure you get an even coating in there. Now they say that you only need to spray for about 30 seconds per cylinder. So let's get started. Then once you're done, what you wanna do is just take some compressed air and just squirt out any of the leftover walnuts that weren't sucked up originally from the vacuum. All right, so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the valves on cylinder 5, and we're gonna repeat the same process. Then once you're done that, you can continue to do the others. All right, so here is an after shot. So as you can see, it looks 1,000 times better. So this should definitely promote some good engine health. All right, so at this point, we are done walnut blasting. Now, this is my very first time, and I'm very pleased with the results. So this is the before, and this is the after. So as you can see, we did a pretty good job cleaning it up, especially since it's our first time. Now, we definitely could have done it a little bit more, but I just wanted to stay extra safe with it. And we have some mods coming that are gonna do some cleaning, so we'll let that take care of the rest. At this point, what we can do is replace the seals. So for all of the part numbers and all the tools that we used in today's video, we'll have that linked in the description. So just take our new seals. Press them in just like that. Now, once you're done, it's a good idea to get your endoscope and check out in the combustion chamber, just to make sure that there's no junk left in there. And if there is, what you want to do is you want to spray some air from this side and then try to get your vacuum and try to suck it out. So looks like there's a couple specks in there. We actually shot compressed air in and nothing moved. So we feel very confident that there's nothing in there. All right, at this point, we are getting ready to just put everything back together. Now, when you are reassembling, the nuts and bolts that hold your intake manifold on, they get torqued down to 15 Newton meters. So just follow the exact same process you did to remove it, just reassemble it. So hopefully today's video was helpful. If you are looking to walnut blast your car, once again, big thanks to Eastwood and also FCP Euro for helping make this video possible. So as we were doing this process, we did learn a couple tips that we wanted to share with you. This is not something we do professionally. We just wanted to do it on my car so we could show you how to do it on your car. First off, always make sure that your valves are properly closed prior to walnut blasting. You may want to get excited and go boom, 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 but you can cause a really bad day. So always be sure that you double check yourself. You make sure that everything is properly set when you move to the next cylinder. The next tip that we have for you is make sure that the walnut shells stay loose, because otherwise they're going to get bound up in the gun and it's not going to spray anything. The third tip we have for you is make sure you grab a scope, because you want to make sure that there's nothing in the intake manifold or in the combustion chamber. Once again, this is Brian. Thanks so much for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com for all your BMW retrofit, performance, and aesthetic needs. If you're interested in any of the parts or tools that we used in today's video, be sure to see the description. Once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.